All right, thank you everyone for joining me today. My name is Brian Weeks. I'm a Senior AEC Technical Specialist at ATG USA. Today we're going to talk about life safety in Revit and using the fire rating CTC tool. It's a tool that allows us to very easily adjust and modify our fire ratings. And when we get started, I always like to tell you a little bit about myself and where my background comes from. I've actually been in the business for 23 years. I've been at ATG now coming up on 3 years. And what brought me to ATG was a program called Team Augmentation. And they started it about the time I started a couple years ago. And what it allows ATG and myself to do is work with architects all over the US and help you with your projects. And whether it be creating construction drawings, or you need a scan of a project, or maybe you need some renderings or help with your company template, all the stuff that we as architects typically don't have time to do because we're always meeting. Creating those templates for your company can definitely be a time-consuming task that you can hire us to help you with, or even renderings or all of that I had just mentioned. So that's really what brought me to ATG, and I enjoyed definitely working with a variety of architects with their projects. Now, also, I like to mention that today I'm presenting on a BIM box. This is a workstation developed specifically for Revit. The image you see is the desktop version. I am working on the mobile workstation version. This is the fastest computer I've ever worked on in my 20 plus years. It's an amazing machine. I can consistently work within Revit, have Enscape rendering, actively operating the program, and zooming with the client to work with them on their projects using this PC. So if this is something that your firm is maybe looking to upgrade some of your computers, or maybe you just need a specific workstation for Revit, definitely contact ATG USA. We can have a sales rep schedule a demonstration for you, compare benchmarks with your system that you currently have and the BIM box system. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I had a couple more people join during that, so thank you all for joining us today. Now, today we're going to talk about the Life Safety CTC tool. And what this tool allows us to do is very easily manipulate properties of fire ratings in our walls. We can map line types, we can apply graphics, and we can, the key value is that we can do this to multiple views at a time. And that's where the time saving comes in. I like to mention I use the CTC tools all the time with client projects that I work on. And of course, any key factor to a tool is, if I'm paying for the tool, how much time am I going to save using it? And of course, that's the key factor. And all these tools are developed from suggestions from users like yourself. And CTC will develop the tool, and then we get to use it and increase and speed up our workflow. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. About CTC tools, just talk very quickly about the project itself, and I'll pull up the screen and show you. We actually have several different suites that are BIM project suite. We have a BIM manager suite and a BIM batch suite. And all those suites are set up very similar in that it shows up in your Revit as a toolbar across the top, and you can control which tools. Maybe you don't use all the tools all the time, so you can check box and turn some on and turn some off and get those to show up in your Revit version, however you want to utilize those tools. This tool suite, any of the tool suites, they install just on your machine, and they apply globally to all of your Revit versions. So since I work with so many architects, I actually have Revit 2018 all the way through 22, and can utilize the CTC tools in 2019 to 2022. 2018 has been has outdated now, but I still have it on my computer, and you can still utilize the CTC tools through 2019 to 2022 versions. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to jump back and forth between the PowerPoint and Revit. I don't want to, I'm not going to bore you with the PowerPoint presentation, because they're really, the key factor is seeing how this tool works and how it can increase your workflow and speed up your workflow. So of course, fire ratings in Revit, it's a parameter value that comes in as a default parameter to a wall type family. And changing that parameter is a manual process. And so you have to actually go to the wall and modify it, change that parameter there. And anytime you want to change graphics or anything to that, it's typically a filter process or a view template type process to make that happen. So let's go ahead. And again, I'm not going to read all this word for word, because I don't want to bore you. You can read the text yourself. It kind of leads into what we're getting ready to take a look at. So let's go ahead and jump over to my my floor plan here. And I do want to mention too, if you ever have any during this presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to type them up in the Q&A or the chat window. I have both open over here on the side, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or comments that you have. So talking about walls, and like I said, with each wall type that's actually within Revit as a setup parameter, you have your fire ratings as a parameter within a wall type. That's just a default setting. And so if there's not a particular fire rating associated with a wall, the traditional sense is to go in and have to select that fire rating and apply it to that wall type. And if you have a lot of wall types in your project, as most often we do with our projects, then having to go in and out and change those to be the appropriate wall rating, the fire rating, can definitely be a painful process to do that. The other thing as well that's definitely a process, and your company may have a workflow already set up for this, is setting up the graphics portion of your code plan and having those walls show up as a rated wall. And so whether it be a view template that you already have set up, or even just a filter perhaps that is set up in your firm, that you have the 1 hour ratings. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to go in here real quick and just show you kind of what I'm talking about. If I come in here and apply a filter to this view, and so we already have this rule-based filter set up that talks about the 1 hour rating. And if I want to apply a pattern to that, of course, through Revit as a kind of an out-of-the-box control, that's definitely something that we can apply and get that to show up in my view as a 1 hour, or if I need to also apply the 2 hour. Somebody's saying there's some graphic issues sharing my screen. Let me try to make sure that, oh, there we go. I apologize for that. Thank you for letting me know. So let me just approach that again and show you what I was referring to as a default. And of course, this may, preaching to the choir here, so to say, is that just showing you the workflow that would be typically handled to apply filters. Hopefully everyone's seeing it. Yep, we got a thanks. Everybody's seeing it now. So by going into the visibility graphics from my code plan and go to my filters, and we have a rule-based filter already set up that I've created. Very easy to do if you've never done, if maybe that's a whole nother lesson for another day about filters and setting up filters for views. You create the filter, name it, tell it here what you're applying that filter to, which is walls, create a fire rating that equals 1 hour. And by applying that filter to my view, I can then control the visibility of various graphics within my project as it applies to walls that have been applied a 1 hour fire rating. So I can do this, and then I can also add a 2 hour. And this process I'm showing you, of course, is the out of the box Revit process of how we have to create and prepare our code sheets to show graphically what these ratings are. So I'm showing you the long way to do it first. This is how we have to do it out of the box. And of course, if we come in and change, a wall parameter and change this wall parameter individually and change that fire rating to, say, a 2 hour, then this is the workflow that we typically have to deal with, is that we're now individually changing graphics, changing views, and either by using view filters and view templates, trying to control these settings in our code plans in our project. And of course, now, I've got this in this project, and now I have, or in that first plan, in the first floor code plan, but now I've got to go back through and apply this view template and the filters to these other plans. So it can be a very painful process to have to go back and forth and do this. And that's where this tool comes into play. So let me, I'm going to do some undo here real quick, just so we can kind of get back to a square one and show you how the tool works. So up here at the top, we have our CTC tab with the various CTC suites, BIM Batch Suite, BIM Manager Suite, and the Project Suite. Project Suite is primarily for production, your everyday drafting, production process on projects. There are some design tools in here as well for creating data sheets and spreadsheets within Revit, but primarily it's a production suite. BIM Manager Suite and BIM Batch Suite are upper level suites. I call them upper level suites that are more geared for project architects, project managers, and BIM managers to give you more control over project cleanup, parameters, family cleanup. So these are I call it, just a higher level tool. You don't want everybody in your company to have access to these tools because they can do some damage if used incorrectly, but these are great for managers to clean up projects. But today, again, focusing on Project Suite, and here we have our fire rating tool. I'm going to go ahead and click on that so we can get to the interface. And there's a couple of different, I'm going to make this big real quick so you can see the full screen interface. And we have a couple of tabs. We have our fire ratings tab, which is where you can see all of the walls and control all of those ratings for all of the walls in your project. It also lists out the count of how many of those wall types are in your project. So it just kind of gives you a good graphic to see how and where, how many times that wall type's being used. And I'll go into some of these changes here in a second. We also have our mappings tab and graphics tab. And then I'll also, again, I'll dive in a little deeper here in the coming minutes. I also like to mention, we have our options and we'll get into that, but I also like to mention on all of our CTC suites, or all of our tools that they offer, they have a couple of tabs here at the top, or buttons for help, which is just a PDF help file. Support, which actually will connect you directly with the CTC support, and not only for issues but for suggestions. And that's what I really love about CTC, is that, again, these tools they develop are based off of suggestions from users. So even if you don't have a problem, but maybe you want to suggest a tool or maybe an addition to this particular tool, you can select support. It's just going to pull up your a little application here that you fill out and say, here's some stuff I'm having issues with or I want to suggest. And the other thing, this is my favorite part, is the video. And you click video, and what this does is take you to YouTube to a tutorial or webinar of that video or of that tool. And of course, the more difficult tools, the more complicated, are going to have more videos associated with them. Love that. That's a very cool feature. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at options real quick. Now with options, there's a couple of different controls in here that dictate how this tool is used. The first one is the wall type options with the parameter. So this is set up currently. I'm applying it to the out of the box fire rating parameter as it's associated with the walls in my project. But if your firm already has, perhaps you already have parameters associated with your walls and it's named something different. And you do that because you know you're taking that that parameter and using it in a different method, maybe doing some tables or schedules, and you're trying to utilize that differently, then you don't have to change anything to make it work with this tool. All you have to do is change that name, select the parameter you want to associate to this tool. And you can also add a parameter, create a whole new parameter. Option under that is to update fire ratings for selected wall types or to duplicate the wall type. So in other words, if we come in here and start modifying some of our fire ratings, do I just want to update that fire rating parameter for that wall, or do I want to duplicate it? Of course, the simple answer is typically you just want to update it, but you may have a particular reason on your project that you're just going to need to duplicate that wall type. Or maybe if there's a wall type that you do want to duplicate that same wall type, but hey, we're going to have this wall 8-inch is going to be this type, and then this 8-inch is going to be a rated wall. That would be the other reason you would duplicate as well. You can also control your naming conventions. And then these check boxes are just how the program is going to process. How do we want to do a missing family line style or generating graphics? If there's an error, do I want to stop and display the error, or do I just want to ignore and continue? Typically, I just do an ignore and continue, because when I see my code plan, I can tell if I don't have my graphics showing up correctly. But if perhaps you want to have that error message pop up first. You can also specify criteria on recognizing the objects, existing, line styles, so on and so forth. Very self-explanatory, very easy to kind of follow on how these parameters or these options work within your program. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at the first tab for the fire rating. So here's all the walls that are in my project, how many counts they have, and the rating. Well, as I've mentioned, this is really about speeding up the process of checking your walls, checking your project, making sure the ratings are correct. And we can see here that we have an interior tile wall type that was probably duplicated from another one of these families, but while the wall type was modified, the fire rating was not. So we have this tile wall incorrectly associated with a 1-hour wall. So to fix that, I just double click on it. It pulls up a window to tell me, what I want to set the fire rating to. Well, this doesn't need to be a fire rating. So I just delete it and update fire rating and hit OK. And that's going to automatically reset that wall rating to globally. In my project, all those walls now do not have a wall rating. There's some options here at the top. So if we're doing some mass editing to our project, to our wall types, we can show all the types. We can select all of them. We can also select any unrated walls and make modifications to those. So just a little bit easier ways to edit your wall types. And again, so if we have to set our wall ratings, maybe I want to come in here and change a couple of these to, whatever that wall type may be in your project, that we do need that to be maybe a 3-hour. And of course, don't hold me to that, since these are just, I'm just real quickly, we know the 4-inch furring and so on and so forth wouldn't be a 3-hour, but the ability to know that, hey, that wall type, I need to make that a 3-hour, and I have several that are like that, or 1 hour, 2 hour, being able to select multiple walls, change them, makes that very easy to do. And again, here's back to our custom parameters. So if you're wanting to modify a wall parameter from that's a different parameter type, you can also sort by that type. So that's also another cool feature as well. So we still have our fire rating, but maybe I need to sort it by type name and show those types. So there's some ability into how you want to get those parameters to show up. All right, so now that we've set our parameters, what about graphics? Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to jump back over here to my PowerPoint real quick and talk about the mappings. So with mappings, we have a couple of different tabs. Our mapping tab, we have a couple of different sections here within that tab. We can actually, and this is a thing I love with this tool as well, is that project architect, project manager, or even your BIM manager can create a mapping, save that mapping, and then that would be shared with your other project architects. And in order to have all your projects code plans be identical in that mapping, line types, wall tags, so on and so forth, then all they would have to do is come in and load that company mapping format. It would load that into the program. And then when you go to graphics and apply those graphics, that's going to apply across the board. So we have lines, detailed components, and I'll show you a little bit about that. That's how you can actually apply a detailed component family to a wall type. I really haven't found a good use for that yet. I've been trying to, I'll show you what how it works. But the biggest thing I've thought, and I don't have a family to show it, would be that maybe if I had a UL type detail component that I needed to show on my plan adjacent to that, if it was a detail component tag or family, then I could associate it. But I haven't found a really good use for that yet, but I'll show you how that works. Line style is, of course, line styles created in my project that I associate to that wall type. And then wall tag is tagging it. So let's go ahead and jump back over to this. And again, let me know. I just tabbed to the program again. So definitely let me know if you are not seeing Revit again. Go to mappings. And you can see, well, first of all, the line types in your firm may already have created line types for your projects, but those would be, of course, handled in your line style settings. And then under line styles, you would create new line styles appropriate to whatever your company standard is. So if you have those line styles set up in the CTC tool program, you can then access and assign those line styles. So let me go back to my mappings and show you how I can go 1 hour, 2 hour, and 3 hour. I can also assign tags. Now I'm going to show you two different methods. First method is going to be an actual wall tag. And I'll show you that. I'll go back to the detail components here in a minute and show you how that works. But by assigning these, I now have my graphics or my mappings and graphics mapped to that wall type. So the graphics tab, I'm going to jump to that. And again, this is the first time I've done a demo for this, so kind of duplicating. I may not even need these slides in a future presentation because I'm kind of jumping back and forth where I could really just talk about it in Revit. But with graphics, this is where kind of the speed and ability to very quickly apply graphics to multiple views happens, and this is where the time is saved. saving a mapping, being able to very quickly load a company mapping, and then applying in your project those graphics just by checkboxing the views that you want to apply those to. You can also apply it to linked projects, and that's a very cool ability as well. So maybe you have some sheets where you just have linked in the consultant files, or maybe you're working on, this is a good example, you have a shell that's in the Revit model, but then your interiors, your build out is actually in a separate LinkedIn Revit file, and it's inserted into that shell. By selecting, the view and the checkbox, then you could actually generate graphics in the view of the shell that has the tenant build out linked in. So there's quite a few different options that you have by utilizing these views, or utilizing the graphics and the checkboxes and maintaining that. So let's go ahead and go back over here to Revit. And how this works, I'm currently in the code plan, so I'm just going to select code plan for now. First, let me check none. Let me make sure I don't have any other views, because it does, depending on how many views you select, it does take a little bit to generate those graphics, because it's actually applying the lines and the wall tags that you've mapped into each of those views. So for right now, let's just select code plan. And you can see a couple of other options here. I can specify, hey, I just want new walls to be marked, or existing, or all of them. So you have some control over the phasing to mark those walls. Generate graphics, update graphics, and remove graphics. I'll show you how that works here in just a second. And then this is the control for the wall tags. How do we want these wall tags to show up? In feet, spacing 10 foot apart, spacing from the end of the wall. And do I want those oriented, with the wall, or do I want them to all be horizontal or vertical? Again, it comes down to your company standard and how your firm determines that setting. Let's see the magic happen. I'm just going to hit generate graphics, and very quickly it just applied all those wall types to my walls. Oh, and I just realized, because I did undo earlier, and that we didn't get that specific wall type set to a 3 hour, just because I was wanting to show how that works. So let's go ahead. That's a wall interior concrete 6-inch. So let's change that to the 3 hour. And then I'm going to show you how this works. We can hit update graphics. And my 3 hour wall is currently the black letter, the black line type, but maybe I want to change that. I can actually go back into my line types, set that up to modify it, so on and so forth, to get those to show up correctly. But you can see how easy that was to change, remove graphics. Even if I change wall mappings in itself, so maybe this wall becomes a 2 hour wall. And then I need to update my graphics again. Again, very easily to just continually go back and forth and change that. You can also see the wall tag. This is just a text wall tag type that I created to have these show up. And that's because unlike AutoCAD, Revit doesn't have the ability to put text in, in as a line type. So we have to contend with that workflow that firms had working with AutoCAD, and being able to have text in lines work together. And that's where this tool really shines, is the ability to do that. Now, I also had a question before on, well, what if we don't use text? What if we use shapes or a diamond or anything of that nature. Well, I actually went ahead and created, give me just a second here to open this up. And I actually created a family. Let me close this as an example that one of our clients had brought up to us is like, well, I don't use text, we use shapes. And hold on, give me a second so I can find this. So just by creating a detail type component of that diamond, and I can load that into my project. And then by coming back over here to my code plan and fire rating, let's go ahead and remove all my graphics and mappings. I'm going to change this to that diamond. And oh, that's why that line was not showing up right. I had selected the incorrect line type. So set it to the diamond now. And so maybe you'd have different, of course, I'm just using one shape that I loaded right now, but maybe you have a single diamond, a circle for 2 hour, whatever, whatever your setting is for your standard, and generate those graphics. Whoa. I think I accidentally created the wrong family. So give me just a second. This is the other thing is, oh yeah, this is still my old one. I apologize. So you're going to get to see me fix this real quick because, I wanted it to be a 6-inch graphic. And when I started messing with this, I was like, oh, well, that's really not what it needs to be because it's an annotation. So we have to kind of go back to this annotation type setting. So it needs to be a 3/32. So it scales out, and that's just a kind of a Revit default application there. And let me do that. And actually, I don't even need this anymore because I've got the filled in that I made. Save that so it doesn't happen again next time. Load into that project and overwrite it. Go back to my code plan, and there you go. So now we have this ability to not only do text wall tags, but now we can do shapes with as a wall tag as well. So let me go ahead, and we're getting ready to get close to the end here, but I do want to show you the fire rating using a detail component. And again, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play with the detail component because I've used it and tried to figure out a good workflow for it as an architect, and I just haven't really found one yet. So definitely, if you get the tool and you play with it and you find out a way to use this better than I have, definitely email me, bweeks@atgusa.com. I'd love to know because right now, here, let me show you what I came up with, which is you can actually utilize this in sections. So if I were to come over here into a section, and if I apply, of course, it's going to show all your detail components. And in my head, what I thought was, well, it'd be really cool if I could get like a light gauge stud. Maybe for that particular wall type, I need to get a rated, some kind of a rated channel in there that I want to have it show up in my code plan, something specific to that. But all I could get to do was, it wouldn't do a section, it would only do sides and tops. So if I come in here and I select these, and I'm kind of checking the chat to see if maybe somebody has an idea. So if I come in and I select a variety of, let's see, I did the top, I did the side, because I was just playing with these variations here. I've got a message actually into an email into CTC to kind of dig in a little bit deeper to this, because like I said, I've never personally used this as a workflow with my clients. But if I set it to a detail component, it shows up in the sections. There we go. it shows up in the sections, but it doesn't show up in the plans, which I've always thought was kind of strange. Let's see here. Unless I know what it was, because I did here, let me go back and do I was doing the Z's. If I do the channel top, so I had selected the wrong ones. Channel top, and then apply it. Oh, and sorry, I was in one of my plans where it was turned off because of the view, or because of the view setting. Now watch, I got this to work earlier, and now watch it not work. Goodness. But again, trying to go back to figuring out, oh yeah, this is because it's a view template, a view setting. Let me just go to one of my other ones that don't have a view. Let me use my view creator and create a new view very quickly here without a template associated. This is another great tool that you definitely should check out to increase your workflow. So let's go to that new plan I just created. That way I don't have any view templates associated with it. Oh, well, and that's why it wasn't working. I just remembered because I only had the I only had I had the wrong plan selected. So code plan, let's make this more obvious here, why don't we? And let me go ahead and select my 01 here and generate the graphics. So there's a key feature. Make sure you select the right plan. So, okay, so we go in here and you can see how it's because my detail components, this is in plan, and it has to do with how that detail component is created. And so the insertion point isn't at the middle, it's at the side, but it places it at the middle. So there's definitely a workflow that I need to work, try to develop to see if this would, sorry, that was my thumb, to try to, get this to be in the center, number one. Number two, you can't really, I just don't know if that really helps my code plan firewall production, but it does have that ability to do that. Again, if you try this out, you come up with a different method, I'd love to hear from you. Definitely email me and say, hey, here's how we're using it. And I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't think of that. I do like to mention, I've been using Revit for going on 14 years. If I do my math right in my head, that's about when it came out. And I always learn something new all the time. And it's definitely kind of a goal I have, that if I'm not learning something new in Revit all the time, I don't know it all. And I always love to learn new stuff. So if you come up with a different workflow utilizing the mappings, definitely contact me. Let me go ahead and mention, because that's really about it. It's all about the applying the fire ratings, applying the mappings, and generating the graphics, and the ability, the time saving is the ability to select multiple plans, multiple views at the same time. I'm going to try this and see if I can get this to run while I'm sitting here, and getting that, having that run multiple views at the same time and applying these visibility graphics to it, and make those changes on the fly and update those graphics as the mappings need to change. I do want to mention, as we get ready to close up, all of these tools come with a 14-day trial. So if you want to try any of these tools out, any of the suites, download all of them, try them out. You can go to atgusa.com. Let me go up here. Go to our website, products, CTC tools. We have a couple of different types of tool sets, but for building designers, and you're going to have trials that you can download. And for that 14-day trial, you get access to all the tools to get to try them out, see what they do. After the 14 days, if you have not purchased a subscription, then the darker colored buttons, which are the premium tools, those will not be able to, those won't be in use anymore. You can't use those, but you do get some good free tools such as family exporting, family loading, some family tools for project cleanup and revision cloud cleanup, family previews. Some of these tools, renumbering and view aligners, are some free tools that I use all the time. But of course, you get more bang for your buck with the premium tools. And all I can really do is suggest, the fire rating is one of the premium tools. Download the set, try it out. We also have Hive, which is a content management system available through CTC, or available from CTC. And it's a content management system developed for Revit. And it allows you to have families kind of control over your company families, control over the parameters, create libraries for specific clients, the ability to load individual family types, as well as, this is one of my favorite parts, is that you can actually have wall system families as a, if you want to call it a downloadable, a storable cloud-based element. So Hive has the ability to extract system families, system walls, ceilings, things you typically cannot create families out of. Hive allows you to do that. So definitely want to check that out. Also details, such as detail views for what I like to use it for is like flashing details. I can actually double click on that and it's going to load that detail into my project. It's just a detail, typical flashing detail, but now I can, using Hive, I can load that into any project without having to store all my details in my templates, my company template. So very cool program. Definitely check into it. If you want to learn more about it, contact us at ATG. We can do another demo on that. So some great time-saving tools that ATG sells that are created by CTC. Any other questions as I get ready to finish this up for the day? Give it a few seconds here if somebody's typing or anything. I do want to thank everyone for attending today. Definitely appreciate your time. And if you would like to see a demo of any of those tool suites, contact us at ATG USA. We can get something scheduled for you. Download the trial, check it out. Definitely check us out on LinkedIn and YouTube. Social media for latest and greatest webinars and tutorials and all sorts of content, marketing content that we produce to help you with your workflows. And again, thank you for your time today. I hope everyone has a great Tuesday, and thank you again. Bye.